Welcome back to the Peach Teach English podcast. I'm Frankie Mesmer, your host, and today we're going to look at reasons why it's so difficult for you to understand fast-spoken English. And after this episode, you will be able to understand native speakers better. Have you ever been listening to native speakers, maybe in a podcast or a movie, and they're speaking really fast? You can pick up a couple words, perhaps phone, weekend, but all those other words, they just seem to kind of run together, and it can feel really difficult to catch everything that they're saying. Well, there's a complete explanation for that, and that's what we're going to look at today. Of course, improving your vocabulary, understanding grammar structures will help you improve your listening comprehension. But listen carefully. What I'm going to share with you today is going to show you exactly what native speakers are doing when we speak fast so that you can start to understand more easily. Why is it so hard to understand native speakers or fast English? Well, one of the main reasons is when you're studying English in a textbook, you're memorizing vocabulary, you are seeing English and hearing English in a very literal way, pronounced slowly, very clearly. But in reality, that's not how native speakers talk at all. We actually cut some of the sounds off, or we run the sounds together. So you're expecting to hear a word the way that you learned it, like, what are you doing? But in reality, we're going to say it, what are you doing? What are you doing? And if you're waiting to hear every single word clearly, you're going to be confused. You're not going to catch it. So it's important to learn exactly what we are doing to get these sounds out faster. We're going to look at 3 of these reasons. Number 1, contractions. Number 2, connected speech. And number 3, the emphasis of important words. So this is why sometimes when you read the subtitles, you can understand it because you see it. But we're actually pronouncing it a bit different than you expect because spoken English can be very different from how it's written. So let's go ahead and get started on those tricks. So the first one is contractions. Now, you're probably very familiar with a lot of the common ones like I am, I'm, or I would like, I'd like. But there are some even trickier contractions that we say really fast. And if you're not familiar with these, you probably are not catching what we are saying at all. The most confusing contractions actually are the ones that have the word have, because we kind of just don't really pronounce have at all. We just kind of add an So I'm going to show you 10 common examples of these contractions, and I'm going to do it slowly, so try to repeat after me so you can also practice your pronunciation. So the first one is would have, but we say woulda. I would have told you. I would have told you. Should have. Shoulda. You should have called me. You should have called me. Could have. Coulda. He could have helped you. He could have helped you. Might have. Mighta. She might have left. She might have left. Must have. Musta. He must have known. He must have known. Would have been. Would have been. It would have been better. It would have been better. I'd have. I'da. This is a good one. I'da. I'd have told him. I'd have told him. I'd have told him. Shouldn't have. Shouldn't have. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Wouldn't have. Wouldn't have. He wouldn't have known. He wouldn't have known. So as you can see, we are reducing a lot of these sounds and putting them together. And if you're not familiar with them, it's really hard to hear it. So I really recommend repeating this. You can also practice pronouncing it yourself and train your ear to understand these reductions within these contractions. So now let's look at number 2, which is connected speech. You see, we don't pronounce words in isolation. We pronounce them together in a rhythm. So sometimes those sounds will come together, and sometimes they might even change completely. So let's look at some examples of this. The first one is when there's a T and a Y, it becomes a sound. For example, what are you doing? What you doing? What did you say? What you say? Don't you know? Don't you know? Can't you see? Can't you see? So maybe you noticed here, we don't say the t in E, we say the ch. Can't you see? So repeat this section. Try to pronounce after me and train that ear some more. Another one is when we have a D and a Y, it makes a j sound, like the J, a j sound. Here are some examples. Did you go? Did you go? Would you like some? Would you like some? Could you help me? Could you help me? Did you get your keys? Did you get your keys? So, as you can see, we're taking that d and that y and making a j sound. Didja, didja. So again, repeat this section, try to pronounce after me, and keep training that ear. Just to add some fun ones, these are probably some of the most common ones you will hear. For example, give me that. Give me that. Let me see. Let me see. I want to go. I want to go. I've got to leave. I gotta leave. These aren't just slang. It's actually a way that we are merging or reducing sounds so that we can keep the rhythm and speak much faster. So continue practicing all of these reduced sounds or merging sounds so that you can sound more like a native speaker and, most importantly, improve that listening comprehension. And finally, part 3. So when we have a sentence, there are some words that are emphasized and some that are not. And we're often reducing these sounds. And when we speak really fast, it might seem as if we're not pronouncing them at all. But technically we are, just a little bit. So the words we usually emphasize are like the nouns, the verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. But those little smaller words that are usually not so important, like articles, prepositions, and auxiliary verbs, we often can not emphasize those words. I would like to look at some of the most common ones where we reduce that sound significantly. Words like to, of, the, and. So let's go ahead and look at some examples. The first one is of. It's actually quite common just to say like So for example, kind of tired. I'm kind of tired. We can say, I'm kind of tired. Kinda. I'm kind of tired. Sort of. That's sort of funny. But we say sorta. That's sort of funny. A lot of people. Wow, that's a lot of people. But we say Wow, that's a lot of people. A lot of people. Cup of tea. I'd like a cup of tea, please. But we say cup of tea. I'd like a cup of tea, please. And piece of cake. English is a piece of cake. But we say a piece of cake. English is a piece of cake. So as you can see, we're not really pronouncing of. We're pronouncing Another one is with the. It can sometimes sound more like a duh. Duh. Let's look at some examples. Go to the store. Go to the store. Go to the store. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? Close the door. Close the door. Close the door. So as you can see, we're not pronouncing it like a hard the. And when possible, that can even sound more like a D. Another very common one is the to. We saw this a little bit with the like gonna, wanna, because we're not even pronouncing the to at all. But it can also change into more of a t sound. So for example, have to try. You have to try the ceviche. You have to try. You have to try the ceviche. So have to becomes have to. Have to. Need to try. You need to try the tacos. Becomes needa. You need to try the tacos. You need to try the tacos. Give it to me. Becomes give it to me. Give it to me. So as you can see, we're not always pronouncing it to. We either remove it altogether or reduce it more to a duh. Another one, super popular, and just becomes salt and pepper, salt and pepper, salt and pepper. You and me, you and me, you and me. Rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. Bread and butter, bread and butter, bread and butter. So yeah, that and often reduces to an sound. A really common one is you. In informal language, it's often said yeah. We just say yeah. Do you know? Do you know? What are you doing? What you doing? Can you help me? Can ya? Can you help me? See you later. See you later. See you later. So it's actually faster to say yeah than you. And it can blend some sounds together much more easily. So it's often to also change you to yeah. So again, I really recommend looking over all three of these sections, shadowing me, repeating, really trying to train your ear to these different ways that native speakers speak. And maybe you can start speaking this way yourself as well. So now that you know some of the common connected speech and reductions that we are doing as native speakers, you can start understanding fast speech better. But I also want to give you some tips to make sure that you're able to practice this and start developing your skills so that you become more familiar with this. And be sure to wait until the end because we will do a practice shadowing activity. So the first one, guys, is re-listen. Okay? Don't just listen passively, but sit down and really listen to how native speakers are connecting those sounds and speaking. Don't focus too much on a transcript or subtitles because there you actually might be practicing more your reading comprehension skills than your listening skills. So I'm not saying never use them. I'm saying make sure you practice sometimes without them so that you are making sure you actually are understanding through listening. A good way to practice this is using YouGlish.com. Basically, it's a website where you can search any word and they will find native speakers using that word naturally. And I recommend listening to some of the dialogues and the interactions. You can see the subtitles there, but make sure you connect them to the actual pronunciation and try to repeat after them. And that's what I really recommend here is shadowing. Taking the time to sit down and really listen to a video, for example. You can pause it, try to repeat. Notice how they're merging sounds together and try to do it like them. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to do a shadow activity. I'm going to read you a short text. The first time, I'm just going to read it naturally so that you can hear the connected speech. And then I'll do it another time where I'll give you a little space where you can repeat after me. So here we go, okay? The fast time. I would have told you earlier if I'd known, but I gotta say it's kind of tricky to keep up sometimes. Did you see what they want to do next? It's gonna be a piece of cake if we stick together. I gotta go now, but let me know if you want to catch up later, all right? See you soon, okay? Maybe that seemed a bit fast, so let's slow it down. I would have told you earlier if I'd known. But I gotta say, it's kind of tricky to keep up sometimes. Did you see what they want to do next? It's gonna be a piece of cake if we stick together. I gotta go now, but let me know if you want to catch up later. All right? See you soon. So again, you can repeat that and try to practice that connective speech so you can master it and develop your listening comprehension. So I just want to remind you that understanding native speakers or fast speech is not just about knowing the vocabulary on the paper, but it's actually being able to realize how we are speaking these methods that I taught you today. Keep training your ear to become more familiar with them and try to use them in your own speech as well. I really just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I am confident that if you apply what you learned today, your listening comprehension of fast speech will already be better. If this episode was helpful, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.